Hello, politically incorrect.
Hello.
Is that what you want to be called, or do you have an actual name?
You can call me politically incorrect. That's fine.
All right, cool, cool, cool. So why are you
Can I ask a question?
conservative?
Why don't you guys
Oh,
ever make
Hold on. There's
content?
like an echo. What'd
What
you
is
say?
that?
I asked why are you conservative?
Uh, oh, um, just like a few reasons, just personal reasons. I believe that the border should be closed. I don't think we should have open borders. I also don't think that LGBTQ plus should be taught in schools because it's not appropriate for children.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. I don't want my daughter learning about
It
that stuff at the
is.
age of 9.
Wait,
Why
wait,
not?
hold on, guys, hold on. I want to let her. I want to let her finish. I like to control my lives a little bit more than the usual rebel rabble we
What do
all
you mean, guys?
join.
I
So
was muted.
I don't think gun laws need to be taken away or fixed. I believe in two-way. Always will. Um, because
how do you reconcile? Because I assume you're conservative, so you tend to vote. I would assume Republican, right? Or probably
yes,
a third party if
yes.
there's a third party candidate you like. How do you reconcile with the fact that Republicans have consistently voted against like expanding mental health services and things like that with that ideal of because I agree I'm not we're most of us are leftists so we're not anti two A. So like how do you reconcile with the fact that they tend to vote against comprehensive mental health benefits and things like that?
Well, obviously, the government, whether they're Republican or Democratic, they're out to make a profit, right? So there's going to be cuts wherever within the system. Do I agree with everything that comes with being a conservative or Republican? No. Do I think that they should increase someone's ability to be able to get the proper mental health care they need? Yes, but I still don't think that gun control or, sorry, pew pew control should be limited because a person has the right to bear arms to defend themselves.
So what would the answer be? So if the answer isn't expanding mental health care services and the answer is not removing any rights on guns, what is the answer to stop the culture of gun violence and the systemic gun violence that we have in the country? And this could be a question to the whole panel. We'll start with you, politically incorrect, and then we'll go through everybody else. What do you think like the answer should be to end this like I said, the systemic gun issue?
Well, I don't think, again, people should have their rights revoked to be like, hey, you can't have a pew pew or like you can't have a pew pew. I think that most definitely there should be more of a background check, a more extensive background check, a more extensive check into their mental health, a more extensive check into like, are they the appropriate age? Like a background check, have they been arrested for this, or that? And a longer waiting period. um, I think that that could help. I don't think it's going to eliminate it altogether, right? Because someone could even have like a sharp object walk into a school and commit the same crime, just wouldn't um, unalive as many people because obviously they're not using a pew pew.
Okay. I want to give everybody else on the panel a chance to answer, and then you guys can respond to each other's answers.
All right.
So again, the question is, how would you fix the systemic issue of gun violence if we're in a place where we don't want to expand mental health benefits and or we don't want to remove any gun restrictions? Like, what are your thoughts on gun reform as a whole?
Sure, Mago.
Yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
think. Oh,
So clearly, we aren't seeing the intended results of adding more guns to public spaces in areas where they absolutely shouldn't be and preventing gun violence. That's not the case. In fact, the narrative of good guys with guns stopping bad guys with guns is pretty much a farce. That's rarely ever the case. I think less than maybe 7% of them actually stop these mass unalivings. So I think a very basic and common sense solution, as you did mention, would be passing a more extensive background check, but also I'd say go further than that. I think there should be an outright ban on AR-15s and assault weapons during that ban period. After the
Yep.
fact, we saw a 300% increase in gun violence. There you
Yep,
go.
just so everyone knows what Jaden is talking about. Jaden is specifically talking about during the Clinton administration era, we passed an assault weapons ban, which did see a decrease in gun violence in the country, and then that ban did lapse after a 10-year period and has yet to be reinstated. Just so everyone knows what we're talking about. Really quickly, there are some people in the box that might be conservative. Justice Fisk, do you mind if I swap you out? to see if we can get another conservative, so politically incorrect isn't the only one?
I do not. Thank you for letting me come in. I'll see you guys later.
For sure. Have a good one. If you're in the box and are conservative, can you just comment in the comments until I see it so I know to let you in?
Yeah, if you need more, I'm happy to drop out too. If you need
For
more.
sure. Does anybody else, Jones or I forgot your name already, Blacksmill. But if either of you want to answer the question,
just Blacksmill. Yeah, I mean, I know you posited it in a way that excludes restrictions on access to guns, but I see access to firearms as being a bit more serious than, say, even driving, because anyone could drive down the street like a maniac, and we accept certain terms and limitations on our ability to drive and travel, including needing the necessity of licensure. We have training regarding to driving. We have a test. In addition to that, we have insurance, and somehow people are like, well, I should be able to buy this thing, which is literally created for the end.
Ooh.
Sorry, this thing that's created for the ending of human life, and there shouldn't be any restrictions on it. It just seems weird to me.
Okay. Hello, other guests. Welcome. We'll get to you in a second, so you can answer the same question. But I want to give Jones time to answer as well. So Jones, if you wanted to posit an answer to the question, feel free.
Yeah, really quickly. So first of all, I just want to get an understanding. The first thing that politically said was, I support 2A, you know what I'm saying? Always have, always will. Like, what is it that you think that the 2A gives you the right to do?
If someone infringes upon my personal space, violently assaults me, or steps on my property without my permission, I have a right to bear arms.
Where does it say that in the Second Amendment? I'm so confused.
Per my state.
Per your state.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the Second Amendment.
Okay, but if you infringe upon someone's pew-pew rights, then you don't have a right to do that at all.
Well, yeah, but you never had the right to own a firearm in the first place.
So really quickly, just because I do want to keep us on track, I will let us have I'll give us like a couple minutes of uninterrupted back and forth. But I want to get to everyone's answer in the panel first, Jones, and then I'll let us do a little back and forth once everybody. So
okay,
if you want to give an answer to what you think the solution to the systemic gun violence would be, and then I'll let the new guest go, and then we'll do 5 minutes of just back and forth.
Well, I mean, so yeah, as Blackmore was just saying, I think that some of the stipulations that we have in regards to vehicles, you should have insurance. You should have to carry insurance on your firearm. So if you unalive somebody, and you do so wrongfully, the victims of the family can be paid out guaranteed. But yeah, you should absolutely have to have insurance on your firearm. There should be much more class to be able to drive a car. So I think that there should be a much lengthier process because you are possessed or wielding something that has the ability to take life rapidly. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jones. And then Red Ring Riot, feel free to go ahead. Same question. What do you think the solution is to the extensive the systemic gun violence in the country? And if it is if it's an issue with mental health, what should we be doing? If it's an issue with guns, what should we be doing?
Put fathers back in the homes. If you look at the history of a lot of our most recent shooters, they came from homes where there was not a solid family unit. So, that's one of the big things. Also, it's every single politician.
That's most.
Hold on, Jones. We'll don't worry. We'll get to it. Really quickly, Red Ring. We are looking for more policy related things. How would you?
Oh no, there. I got a second one following it up
on a policy level.
Well, it's you got to look at all the politicians and local assholes basically putting in the policies that keep schools gun free. If you have an armed security officer or an armed peace officer at a school and it is posted, it is more than likely to not be shot up. All it does is create safe spaces for cowards. Every single politician that creates the policies that that disarm schools to make them vulnerable targets.
Yep. So
all of them should be held accountable too. Everyone who voted it in, put them all in
No
jail.
problem. No problem. So I'm going to give you guys time to freeform discuss. I do want to just school shooting that's occurred since Columbine, and we actually see that in schools with SROs, which are school resource officers, which are the police officers that are in schools, that there is a higher mortality and fatality rate in schools with SROs. I'm not proposing a reason. I'm just giving out the facts of like gun violence in school. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to discuss everything. I want to let Politically Incorrect start it since she started the last time, but this is going to be free form, so feel free to engage, and I'll just interrupt if we're getting too off topic or people are like over talking.
Okay, so Mr. Jones kind of said something like, I believe that you should have to have insurance regarding like a pew pew. I'm not disagreeing with that. I do agree to a certain extent of self-defense that you should have to obviously pay for the consequences of your crime. The family should be compensated for the loss. That I completely understand, and I'm not fighting you there. However, someone made a point that like owning a pew pew or having a pew pew is like driving a car or like the same risk of driving a car. If someone wants to unalive someone, whether they own a pew pew or not, they're gonna unalive someone. It doesn't even just have to be.
Yeah, same with a car. If I want to mow some people over, like Charlottesville, I can do that. For sure.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like pew pew or not, if that thought pops into
Only one person died to a car in Charlottesville,
anyway.
and that's because the fat cunt jumped on the hood.
If that's the case, then there should be a requirement for insurance. Even if you want to defend yourself, if I want to get myself from point A to point B, I still need insurance. It's a mitigation against the worst case outcome.
Yeah, well,
yeah, but that just makes it another barrier for entry for poor.
It doesn't make it a barrier. No one's stopping it. You can do it. Guns are already crazy expensive. Like, what's $50 a month? $50 a year, whatever the case may be. I think that's a reasonable expectation. You're literally wielding something that was designed for ending someone's life.
And you're also intentionally putting in a barrier for entry for protection, which will mostly affect minority communities.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, I get the insurance, but tightening, making PPUs more unaccessible, like I'm okay with like reforming it as such as like background checks. But to say that you're banning certain PPUs because it's more of a threat is kind of asinine to me.
Does requiring insurance for a vehicle limit someone's ability to access a vehicle or
sometimes
drive?
If they can't afford it? Yes.
It does. Actually, I live in an area where who's got background noise?
I'm sorry, guys. I told you I was cleaning when I ran the line.
No worries. Are there different levels of insurance that you can buy into?
Obviously, there's comprehensive full coverage.
Cool. Yeah, so there could be lower levels of insurance that people have. I don't think
still,
it's
so like with
having
insurance,
to pay to play.
Okay, if you're like 18 to like what is it in New York State? It's like till 29, 28. You're gonna pay out the butt for insurance because of your age, simply because they think you're a liability. When not everybody is a liability, they can go 20 years without ever getting in an accident. They can go 10 years without ever getting in an accident.
That's true.
You don't
Insurance
know.
is about actuarial science and making informed, calculated risks. So if your state is not accommodating to you, you can move to another state.
You also realize that
they're going to do that state to state, and their assumptions are not always accurate.
You also realize Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., New York, and Detroit would basically, they would be insurance no-go zones because those are the 4 highest cities.
So real quick, if you guys would like me to pull up, I can pull up the actual, the highest cities, just so that we have them collectively as a panel. Would you guys like that?
Yeah, sure. Go for it. As far as I understand,
keep talking. I'll pull them up.
As I understand.
Continue talking.
So the thing I think people forget in the Second Amendment is they like to focus on one thing, which is the right of the people to bear arms, but there's the well-regulated militia part. So what's a militia and what does well-regulated mean to you?
I was going to let him speak. I just didn't know if you were talking to him or me.
Either of you, because that's part of the preamble to the Second Amendment, right? A regulated militia being essential to the free people, right? The right of the people to bear arms shall not be infringed.
to give you guys the states, if we're looking at just gun death rates, which is what I think would be most beneficial to us, since we're not just talking about one type of gun crime, we're talking about like in total, right? The top 5 would be Mississippi, Louisiana, Wyoming, Missouri, Alabama, and then Alaska, New Mexico, Arkansas, South Carolina, and Tennessee. So those are the top 10.
And that's for pew pew violence?
Yes.
Those are the ones with the highest gun death per capita. If we're looking at just deaths as a whole, it becomes a little different because obviously the larger states are going to have more gun deaths. But if we're looking per capita, those would be the top 10.
Okay. Now, as far as you're saying like a strong and readily available militia that comes along with 2A, right? That was your question?
Yeah, well-regulated. People seem to gloss over that. So I'm curious what a militia is to you and what well-regulated means.
I mean, as far as any government or like military, anything is concerned, I believe that we need to be prepared to go to war at any moment. I also think that we need to have, our
May I
soldiers
interject for just a moment, please? What makes you think that the average citizen is prepared to go to war? Have you ever seen war?
My family has seen war. They've obviously seen.
No, I didn't ask that. I said, have you ever seen war?
Well, no, but if most
military veterans have never seen war. 80% of military veterans have never seen actual combat.
I understand that.
Just careful of over talking, you guys. Careful of over talking.
Anyways, I think everyone should have some form of training as far as a citizen to prepare themselves for war because you never know. I mean, look at what we're sending millions of dollars to Ukraine, and for what?
For
them to launder and embezzle the money.
Protect their sovereignty against Russian imperialism. That's for why.
I just want to, since we're talking about guns, read the Second Amendment. So the right to bear arms. A well-regulated militia, right? So we have a subject, a well-regulated militia. Okay, and then we have some description of what a regulated militia means. Being necessary. So a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. A well-regulated militia is necessary to the security of a free state. Okay? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Those
people within that militia.
Those are inseparable. Okay. To bear arms necessitates the existence of well-regulated militias. And if you look at the definition of the word regulated, it talks about rules, it talks about structure. It might be licensure, it might be insurance. It's not a stretch of the imagination. Now, conceptually speaking, those things may not have existed at the conception of the Constitution or this amendment, but still, as we move into the future, we should be having conversations about what this actually means, but we're not willing to broach the topic and acknowledge that a well-regulated militia is an essential part of this. I don't see people who own firearms subjecting themselves to regular training that is observed, that is tracked, that is verified. None of that. So we got a lot of people just like, yeah, I got my pew-pews, I'm good to go, let's go to war. But there's not the necessary training, from my perspective, or regimentation or regulation that would be associated with a militia.
But do you or do you not, when you register to receive, at least in my state, in order to get a pew-pew, you have to take training classes in order to qualify, because I live in a concealed, which I don't believe in, but a concealed carry state. So you have to take those classes and training in order to even qualify to get that.
And that's fantastic. I think on top of that, and I agree with you there, that's a part of the process. I'm about to get my own pew-pew. I'm so far left that I'm about to get my own pew-pews, right? So recertification, retraining, validation, I think should be a part of that relationship that you have with your firearm, much like you have to renew your license, you have to renew your insurance. People over a certain age, sometimes they get their driving rights taken away.
So really quickly, I think we're getting into a good conversation here. So I'm going to propose another question to the panel. That question being, do you think the or in fact, even better question, do you think that the Constitution is up for interpretation? So to give context to this, the Supreme Court has do you think we should be able to reinterpret amendments in the Constitution? I'll start with Jaden, and then we'll go left to right on the panel.
Personally, my opinion is that we need to rewrite the Constitution at least every 17 years. But yeah, I think reinterpretation at this point may be necessary because the context in which certain amendments and laws written back then, several hundreds of years ago, don't exactly apply. So my position ultimately is we should rewrite it. But effectively, reinterpretation is the best that we can do at this point.
Yeah, and I believe, I don't remember which founding father, I think it might have been Andrew Jackson, I forget, but it was suggested that the Constitution should be revisited and should be revised, but we're in a position
Jefferson.
Where is Jefferson? Okay. We're so divided that the likelihood of a constitutional convention is just like this far-fetched idea at this point, because we've become entrenched in these narratives that limit our ability to conceive something better. And the fact is, we are so far removed anthropologically and sociologically from the time that this was framed that it does, I think, necessitate at least a discussion about revisiting the Constitution. I mean, they couldn't even have considered AI. Like, is AI a person? Right. You know, we have corporations that are equivalent to people at this point. Like, these ideas are different and new, and I think outside the conception of the framers. So it's not crazy or super far left, what would they call it on Fox News, I forget, to suggest that the Constitution needs some revision. It needs some modernization. I don't think that's like crazy.
Right.
Yes, but the way things are now.
Hold on, man. Y'all just skip right by me. Can I speak if you don't mind?
Yeah. Also, remember, this isn't the time for like it should just give your take, and then afterwards we'll do the.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just gonna give my take. That's fine. The second, I honestly believe that it should be open for reinterpretation. But as Jaden said, I think that it's time for us to strongly consider rewriting said Constitution, because we don't really follow the vast majority of it anymore. Because to Blackmo's point, we consider people corporations now. And at the time the Constitution was written, Black people weren't even considered human beings. Neither were indigenous people. So I would say throw out the baby with the bathwater and let's start over. It's no longer serving the purpose that it was intended.
Yeah, the only issue with that is right now you have like basically like a media cartel that are just pushing whatever divides. So if one side were to get it, the other side would cry bloody murder, and you literally have it argued down to like the morality of like just even raising kids.
Well, we're not.
So right now,
we want you to just tell them.
Well, I live in communist Canada, and like.
I wish Canada was communist. I'd leave right now. I'd be on the first thing smoking.
Me too.
All right. Let him go. Let him go.
All right.
Like, we're basically like ahead of you guys 10 years for basically the social dumping ground that is our laws. And right now, like for instance, y'all have the freedom to protest. They're putting in right now, like, if they don't want grown men dancing in front of little kids, you're not allowed to be within 100 meters of the building. Just to show up and say you don't agree with it. They want to make that quote unquote hate speech. If you, it's currently law on the laws in Canada.
If you don't want what? I'm sorry for clarification. If you don't want what?
If
I didn't hear you.
The drag events for kids.
What in God's?
So really quickly, I want to stay. We want to stay on topic. The question right now, and maybe you won't be able to answer because you're not from the U.S.
Oh, I lived in the U.S. for 20 years.
Okay, so then the question right now is, do you believe that the constitutional amendments are up for interpretation, and should we be rewriting the amendments?
Oh, I believe that, again, they are up for interpretation, but the thing I was getting at was I was pointing out, like, if you because right now it's like you have like the people that are basically like stuck in the middle between like the far left and the far right, and they're basically like that's just the casualty zone for all the bullshit between the two sides. And if one side gets a pen where they get to rewrite and redo the Constitution how they see it, the other side will cry bloody murder, like regardless, because there's no attempt at pushing unity amongst the people. It's only like all your media companies push divide, divide, divide. Ours do it up here too. Like right now, it's our government gives out about $700 million in government funding to state approved or quote unquote with the party messaging. Like they literally tried to ban the book from George Orwell, 1984, from our public speaking houses because it's basically the game plan they've been on.
Yeah, I think Florida is doing something like that too. You know, it's interesting with the Constitution. Like, I don't think people would argue if we made an amendment or even redid the whole thing and said, people are people, that's it. People are people, that's it. And parents, be better parents. Make choices for your kids. Sorry, go ahead, politically incorrect.
Oh, you're off the app.
Sorry, there we go. As far as myself, I think certain, amendments should remain untouched, right? Because they protect, like the Second Amendment and the First Amendment, because the freedom of speech, like we should be able to say whatever we want to who we want, whenever we want, right? But other ones like the 22nd Amendment, like as far as like how long a president can remain in office, or like the amendment for tax income and revenue and all that, I think those obviously can be changed and up for interpretation, but certain ones I think should be protected and not messed with at all.
Okay.
So before the
so you hold on. Go ahead, Jovan.
I was just going to say before the panel continues, Ms. Politically Incorrect, could you tell us what your criteria is for which amendments can and can't be changed? Is it more like the ones that address personal freedoms you wouldn't change, but the other ones you're open?
Yes, if it has something to do with personal freedoms, I don't think that they should be altered or changed. But as far as like things to do with the government itself, as far as like how long a president can remain in office or like taxes or anything like that, yes, I think they can be changed.
Okay, I'll open up to everyone on the floor now. Just remember to keep it on topic, and then we'll move to another topic after about 5 minutes or so.
Okay, great. So the first issue I have with this is the Second Amendment does not grant you the right to own a firearm. So changing it would do nothing. That's not what the Second Amendment is written for.
Unless you're part of a militia.
Yes, unless you're part of a militia, it does not grant you personally the right to own a firearm. Secondly, the First Amendment doesn't grant you the right to say whatever you want to anybody you want without consequence. Like that's not, I feel like there's the dramatic misinterpretations of what these amendments actually give you the right to do or say. Like that's not how these amendments work, and that's not what the frameworkers intended when writing it. And that's specifically why it needs to be changed now. And this idea that we should change how long, like that's absurd. If anything, they should stay in office for less time.
And that's why personal opinions are a beautiful thing. I personally would have loved to see certain presidents in office longer, but they couldn't because their time obviously expired. But I understand.
Well, so did they.
Right. But the Second Amendment, I understand, does not grant you the right to own. Well, maybe that's what we need in America.
Really?
Just to be honest. Yeah.
I don't know how you can be in favor of
this
more.
This is Christo-fascism. I knew it.
I don't know how you can say that you're in favor.
Which presidents you think should have been in?
Well, obviously Trump. He wants Trump.
Well, I don't know. I like to approach things with curiosity. I don't want to assume
Trump, George Bush.
You want more Bush? Jesus Christ.
Bush ruined the country. Is this serious? Is this real?
I just think it's ironic to say that you're in favor of more personal liberties, but also a dictatorship, which would ultimately do away with personal liberties, if anything else.
Yeah, but then everyone would
truly
be treated equal, and they can't complain and say
no,
they're being not treated fairly.
So we're being treated equal in the eyes of the government suppressing us all?
I'm
That's
saying
what
we
you
all
want?
have the same freedoms right now in America,
But we wouldn't
like
under a
they, but
dictatorship.
they claim that they don't. So it's like you cannot please everybody. And under a dictatorship, it's like, okay, we truly are all treated equally. We truly are being treated like
More,
crap, or we
I
truly
just want to
are
point
being
out
treated
So
respectfully.
really quickly, Jade, really quickly. I promise I'll make it less than 2 seconds. More
All right.
undocumented immigrants came into the United States under President Bush than any of the 5 previous presidents combined. I just want to throw that out there because she was complaining about open borders.
Obama
So
murdered
Immigrants like to
American
come into
citizens without
America and
trial
work for
overseas.
less because they're
what
broke
the
and
fuck?
take our jobs from Americans, right?
So your position seems to be that President for life Donald Trump can do away with voting rights unilaterally in this country, but that's okay because at least all of us don't have rights at that point.
What
Is that your argument?
jobs? What
Correct.
jobs are undocumented
Why is that a good thing?
immigrants
Hold on,
taking
stop
from Americans?
pivoting. Well, not you. But how is that a good thing?
What, for all of us to not? At least our country would be more in a stance of control.
Control of our rights.
What rights do you feel
That kind of
that you
contradicts
have to
your
have
whole opinion. You want more rights for
besides
people.
having the freedom of speech and besides having the right to unalive someone if they are a threat to you? What other rights do you need?
I think gay people should be able to marry and express their
I
love and
disagree with that.
commitment in a
I
legal
disagree with
sense.
that.
That's the fucking point.
I understand that. I understand that.
Yeah, but like if you look
Y'all
for
don't know
the people that originally marched for gay rights back in the 90s, like the people that were marching for it, a good chunk of them that are still alive now that said if I had seen that this like what we have today is where it's going, I would have stayed home.
Name one person who's saying that.
There's a
Nobody
lady on
said
TikTok.
that.
Who
There's
on
a lady on
TikTok?
TikTok who literally said,
One person, and that means it's
Right,
all
and
of
so
them.
somehow that one
So
person is the
okay,
monolith.
all
"Well, I
right.
was
So
in high school
we're
during
gonna take a
the
pause. We're gonna take
like
a
the
pause.
argument for it."
Hold on, we're gonna take a pause. Okay, I'm a little floored about where that just went. So I'm gonna try to reset with this next question to since seems to be a prevalent topic now. Before I do, Kenzie did ask to come up. Do any of our left leaning friends want to swap out for Kenzie, or would you guys like to stay in the box? It's okay either
Oh,
way.
I'm invested now. But if you must, I will leave. But I'm invested.
Nope. It's if you guys want to stay, I'll let you stay. You guys were up here, so I'm not going to swap.
No, hey, listen,
I'd like to
I will
stay.
always root for Kenzie. So I'm gonna. Bye, guys. Love you.
All right, Jones. Thank you.
All right, Jones. Hang out in the chat.
Okay, so the next question I'm going to propose to the panel is sort of, I guess it's going off of what Miss Politically Incorrect said. So the question that I'm going to propose is, should we as a country be more inclusive of our LGBTQIA plus citizens? Should we be writing laws to help them better in society, or the opposite? What is your take? We'll start again with Jaden and then go through the panel.
We absolutely should recognize and protect members of the LGBTQ community in this country based off the large degree of marginalization and policies that have done away with many of their livelihoods in this country. I think they've contributed to our society far and away in innumerable ways that I think honestly has gone thankless throughout the many centuries that they've existed. So yes, I believe that they are entitled to all the protections afforded towards every other citizen in this country. Not saying more protections or any additional rights, but the same rights that every other person has been allotted throughout our history.
All right, Black Mo.
I got nothing. You can skip me for now.
Okay, Politically Incorrect.
Yes and no. Like, obviously, they have a right to love who they love, but at the same time, I don't think that it should be anywhere near our elementary schools or middle schools. I don't believe that anything like that belongs in a school as far as children are involved that are not, their brain's not fully developed, they're not consenting adults, and we don't need to taint their brains or view with that kind of stuff in our school.
Okay.
So,
Are we going to do full panel first? Or can I respond to that?
This is the reason I wanted to skip. I wanted to hear from.
No, I do want to give.
Side.
Yeah, I do want to give everybody a chance to answer the question. Then we'll go full panel. So, Red Ring Riot, go ahead.
They currently are an overprotected, marginalized group that, unfortunately, unfortunately, the direction they're taking it is the reason they get so much shit. Like, the reason it's like I was in high school during the whole like gay marriage debate, and it was literally just we just want to get married just like you guys. It's not like we're in schools shoving it on your kids, and now look where we are.
Wait, Red Ring, are you part of the
more and more?
Red Ring, are you a part of the LGBTQ community?
I left the cult.
But are you gay?
No, I was questioning for a while, but once I got away from it and the contagion that it is, then my everything cleared up.
Okay, Kenzie, go ahead, and then we'll open up.
So I think it's interesting that a lot of publicans say they're for like individual rights and liberties and don't understand that the basis of that is definitely civil rights as well as human rights, which are freedom from discrimination, freedom of privacy, as well as to be free from torture. And I think within our system, we can see that obviously having inclusion for the LGBTQ community and not discriminating them when it comes to like education, marriage, or other social, economic, or political institutions is supporting those individual rights. So I think there was a lot of contradictions made with the conservative panel.
Thank you, Kenzie. I'll open it up. You guys will do 5 to 10 minutes of just open discussion.
Right.
I'm curious from our guests on the right, like, where does your understanding of what's normal come from? Like, if you're being honest with yourself, like, it might be church, it might be something else, media, like, where does that come from?
I'm a non-religious person. I don't believe in religion.
So where does that idea of normalcy and acceptability come from in terms of the LGBTQ community? As opposed to cisgender heterosexual people?
I'm not heterosexual. But I'm also not going to gallivant around being like, I'm bisexual. Like, I pay attention to me and going into schools being like, hey, guess what, boys and girls? I like both genders. I like men and women, and you can too. And that's okay at the age of 5. Like, you don't do that to children.
It doesn't happen.
It does happen.
Yeah,
especially when you put sex education in schools as soon as like
sex education is beneficial.
In 5th grade now, that's not. No, it's
not.
It
should be sooner.
Not 5th grade.
It should be sooner.
I do not want my 9-year-old coming home to me and being like, "Mommy, why does a boy wear dresses to school?" Like, I'm not. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
not.
If they had that,
why would they even
at school? They'd be able to answer that properly. Secondly, the notion that it's tainting their minds, I think, is a very bad point to make. It positions it as though there's something wrong with being gay, which there isn't. Nor is there any kind of inclination, any natural inclination towards being gay or bisexual or lesbian just because you hear about it or learn about it. In the same way that gay people, having grown up in a heteronormative society, many cases by a mom and a dad, still grew up gay, despite the fact that everything that they saw was based in straight culture. So there's no indicator that you can point to that would position people of somehow converting to that sexuality simply because they learned about it.
I'm not saying, first of all, I believe in the fact that you're born gay. I am not saying you're forced to be gay. What I'm saying
wait, what if a boy, even if we didn't have the education within school, what if a boy did wear a dress to school? Like, what would you say? That they're not allowed to?
My daughter out of that classroom and put her in another one.
Why?
Because I don't
Why
want
is it immoral for a boy to wear a dress?
One, because there's only 2 genders, and that will never change.
It's not.
Yes,
now we got
clothes
to
don't have gender.
Gotcha.
Wait, you realize that within other cultures, men and boys do wear dresses, right?
Yeah, that's their culture, not U.S. culture, not our culture.
Well, it was here.
Not my problem.
Even United States presidents, as kids, you look at the baby pictures of George Bush, wore dresses. That's a pretty common culture here. Still do it.
Swaddling gowns are different.
What?
But if someone goes to school and wears a dress to school because they want to be a woman when they are
I'm saying that boys for many years. Boys for
There's
many
a
years in
difference
this country
there.
wore dresses to school. That's a fact.
There's a
Quick
difference between
question
going
for
to school and
my.
wearing a dress and going to school wearing a dress saying I'm a woman even though I'm a man and have a penis.
So
I did
wearing
not
a
think
dress means that
that they're
you are a
saying I'm a
woman.
woman or I'm a girl. I just said they wore a dress.
Yeah, I think that's a stretch.
Hang on. I have a question for my for the leftists on the panel. Do you know who John Money is?
No idea. Tell us who John Money is.
John Money is the founder of modern day gender theory, which is the insanity we're currently shoveling onto kids.
I think that's
I would
pretty well
prefer you
So
disputed.
hang
hold
on.
on, stop.
Hang on.
Hold on, everybody stop. Everybody
It's a
stop.
very charged word.
Hold on, everybody stop. I just want to do the fact checking here. Gender
John
theory
Money.
existed before John Money. I just need that to be made clear. So gender theory as a whole existed well before John Money came.
I
Even before he
said
was
he's the
born.
father of modern day gender theory. Not like everything before was just not existent.
Contributor to modern day gender theory, but not the founder. Certainly not the founder.
No. For
Yeah,
there's
that
him
was
and
in
one other.
1961. 1961.
Yeah.
So let's
He took a
continue
pair of
here.
boys, one which was because that's back when they used machines to castrate infants. That the machine mutilated the boy. So they said he went to the parents and said, "Hey, well, let's try this out. We'll completely cut the rest of the stuff off of one of your kids and we'll raise them as a girl." And
Okay, great. So I would like to
hang
get
on.
back to the other point of like,
This is
it's
off topic.
interesting to me how you guys say like, we don't want to force this. We don't want to force this on our kids. Yet literally that's what you're doing. I
Yeah.
asked you, what was a problem with a boy wearing a dress? And you automatically went into like the trans debate when I didn't even give that type of caveat. So you are forcing your children to conform to what you think their gender should be and how they ought to behave and what they ought to do. Like, can you please explain that?
So answer the question then: is sex
And-
what you're assigned at birth, right? Is that biological? Like your sex is biological,
Sex
right?
is biological.
Okay, so you can identify
It's
as far as gender
determined by
goes whatever you
biological
want,
character.
but
One
you
second.
will always biologically be male or
I
female,
would.
and there's no changing
wait.
that.
Sex is not binary, however.
I want to answer that. While sex is attributed to biological characteristics, our sex assigned at birth is by doctors, which are based on social standards, and they often get it wrong.
First of all, transgenderism or anything like that is a mental deficit. Like it's not.
And it's not.
It is.
That's a
It
pivot.
That's
really
laid
is.
out by the.
It's based off
It's
of gender
not, but that
dysphoria.
is a pivot.
It's body dysmorphia or dysphoria, whatever it is. Yes,
That also
it's
is
a
not.
mental
You
disorder.
realize
So
cisgender
if
people experience body
if
dysmorphia.
you are part of the LGBTQ community, are you sexuality dysphoric at this point?
I mean, maybe I probably was born with a
Did
chemical
you?
imbalance
When
in
did
my
you
brain.
make that choice to be a part of the community?
Well, I don't associate with the community.
Oh, okay. So, but you identify as having a certain preference. So when did you come to that place of making that choice? Do you acknowledge your dysphoria, sexuality
Yeah,
wise?
no, obviously, yeah. Like I know that I'm
So
not gay because
you
that I have that
you accept
deficit.
that you have a mental illness. Then is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
What's the mental illness?
Being
Opinion?
gay, yeah,
So you think being gay is a mental illness?
I do.
There's no
What
gay
would be the
gene.
mental illness though? Like, where's that classified exactly? Because the DSM-5 doesn't rank sexuality as a mental illness. Why wouldn't straight be listed as a mental illness then?
It
That's why I
probably
asked the
should
question.
be.
It's not, though. Sexuality is natural to you. Also, I find it oddly ironic that you'd be against, quote-unquote, forcing kids to do anything when a moment ago you said that you were pro-dictatorship.
Well, see, if we were in a dictatorship,
She does want to force children. She does want to force children to abide by her ideas of what gender should be.
So in
I
other
have a
countries
question
where
now.
there are dictatorships, being gay is still illegal. So, yeah,
That's
we're
wrong
probably
still.
better off.
I mean, even the people that are demonized, or the people that demonize Vladimir Putin signed into law legalized protections for gay marriage.
What does that have to do with anything? What?
No, just saying.
I didn't hear what you just said.
Where they're talking about the being gay or whatever. It's but even other countries, because you mentioned other places where being gay was illegal. And I pointed out that what is currently considered the most evil country in the world, Russia, in fact has it on their books where gay marriage is legally protected under the law.
Are they not
Right,
still
in certain countries there
an
are.
oligarchic dictatorship?
No,
That doesn't
they have
excuse
elections.
the fact that he's an extreme
They have elections.
authoritarian presence.
But what's ironic about that is actually more people were arrested in the UK over the last few
Look,
years
I don't
for
give a shit.
commentary
This is not
than
relevant
Russia.
to the discussion. This isn't relevant at all. Okay, let's not get on that point. Let's get back to the topic of LGBTQ in schools. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I have a question. Like your argument is like pro LGBTQ education in school and all this stuff. Say now, mind you, I'm not assuming your identity or your proclivity, but the so you've chosen you're comfortable, you're out. That's fine. You've committed to to how your life is going to be, and unfortunately, that's where your lineage ends. So where do you get the gall to then take your ideologies and put them onto other people's kids? That's the issue I take. You have your
What
own.
does that mean? What does that mean? Because I feel that you guys are doing that and trying to promote a cis heteronormative culture and essentially continuing to marginalize and ostracize the LGBTQ community.
Well, considering how many women of the year have been men, biological men, in the last few years, how many sports are being destroyed because biological
That does
men?
not answer my question. That does not answer my question. And I could simply dismantle that by saying that people who are left-handed used to be marginalized and ostracized.
Yes.
And then when
My sister's
left-handedness became
left-handed.
more
She got hit in school for it.
left-handedness became more acceptable, we saw an increase in people who were left-handed. So
Do you know the
we can
origin for
apply
that?
premise. No, I don't care. The point is the premise
Again,
that I'm
you're going to
stating
bitch
here.
about something, but you don't give why it has
I'm
an
not
origin. You don't care
bitching
about its
about
origin.
anything.
sexism.
I'm trying. You are deflecting on my question. My question
again,
is
if there's
that
an issue
you
with something,
guys
if there's
are
an issue with
trying
something,
to promote.
there
You
used to be
guys
an
are
issue
trying
with
to
people with
promote
red hair.
Stop
a
talking, please.
cisgender heteronormative culture, and you're trying to shove that down people's throats. So please tell me how you reconcile that.
For me, it's I feel like trans women try to infringe on my womanhood, and I don't respect that, and I never will.
How are they infringing upon your womanhood?
Why are you
How are
so
you going to sit there
insecure
and
in your
say that you
womanhood?
have a period? You don't have a period. You will never have a period. You
They
could
don't
have
say
hormonal
that.
changes with. Yes, they do. I've encountered
It is a trend on.
several trans
IUD.
It
women.
is a
I
trend
have
on.
an
It is a
IUD,
trend.
and therefore I do not get my period anymore. Am I any less of a woman?
No, because you're a
No,
real biological woman.
you're an actual woman.
Biological woman is not a
give
statement.
birth.
I don't. And there are women. She is. She is. It's plain and simple. Trans women take nothing away from me as a woman. I still feel feminine. I still feel valid in my womanhood. I don't know why she's so insecure about it. Because we could take any characteristic and ask you and say, this is what defines womanhood. And there will be women that don't have that characteristic.
Okay, so you're on board that if someone just identifies as a woman, that's it, they're perfect. So I got a question.
Nobody
What
said
would you
they're
call it if
But
you
they're
have a
perfect.
biological if you have a biological man who identifies as a woman
Biological
who is
man is not
considered?
a term.
Let's try the non-interrupting game.
Sorry,
And
You start.
yeah,
Let's
well,
try.
again, you
Let's
cut
try
me off when I
using
tried to
precise
interject.
language game as well. Biological
No,
man,
I'm
biological
telling you
woman are not correct terms.
a person with male genitalia. How about that? Is that correct enough for your weird liberal
You can just say
bias?
male.
Natural born, Jill. Natural born male genitalia. Not the
You can
ones
just
that
say
get
male.
the surgery.
You can just say
No, because there's two
AFAB.
different. There's two different.
Anyways, up here in the ye old north, you had a man, Jonathan Yaniv, who identified as a woman, essentially going around targeting immigrant women who ran esthetician clinics for Brazilian waxing and all that. And when they said, "I'm sorry, we don't work on male genitalia," took them to court multiple times. Like basically, would just go around shutting down these these immigrant women's businesses because they wouldn't touch his genitals.
Well, they shouldn't because he's not a woman.
And the point you're trying to make is?
So
I'm just going to throw out. Wait. Hold
This,
on. I'll let you go. I just want to point out. I Google searched this and nothing comes up.
What was the
look up
name you listed?
Jonathan Yaniv. I think it's Yanniv. Rebel. There's a conservative media up here. Rebel News, I think they're
oh,
called.
shocker.
They did a paper on him. His current name is Jessica Simpson.
Wait.
Oh boy.
Yeah, because he had a debate with trans YouTuber Blair White, which he brandished a taser, which is illegal in Canada, threatening to taser.
Okay, so what? Hold on. One thing we're not going to do is we don't
Factory.
misgender people on the live. If Jessica goes by Jessica and is a woman, we will refer to Jessica as a woman, not as a man.
If you threaten or commit,
I just need to know that you agree to these rules of the live, or I will have to switch you out.
you don't get social graces for being a criminal.
Okay, then I will have to switch you out and let somebody else take your place because you don't agree to the rules of the live. But I will let anybody. If there's any more opposition in the box, there is a new space open for opposition. So feel free to come in if there's any other opposition. Also, if any of the panelists that are in here, there are a bunch of our friends in the box. If anybody wants to sub out, but also you don't have to.
Yeah, I will
I'll
sub out.
but
I just wanted to close with clearly politically incorrect has a lot of contradictory points, and it is that really has not addressed any points that have been brought up to her, and I can't believe the things that have come out of your mouth. It is so insane.
That's okay. That's why we all have personal opinions.
So what does that mean? We all have personal opinions. You've literally come out here and spouted homophobia, transphobia, and fascist ideologies. And you're just going to hide behind I have my opinions. Do you think that those are good ideologies to hold?
Do you think yours are? Because I disagree with yours.
Yes. If we want to talk about morality and ethics, yes. I think homophobia, transphobia, and fascism are immoral.
And that's fine.
And you've yet to sort of establish how it's ethical to put forth a dictatorship in America. Why that's more morally ethical than the system.
Yes. Why do you think that is moral?
Because I feel like people should be, to an extent, controlled so that they're not. Because today's society is they're very yuppie. Okay, they're very sensitive, soft snowflakes.
Then you contradict yourself and say you're for individual liberties.
Maybe they need some hard discipline in order to not be so sensitive. But
right, Hitler believed in the same thing.
I'm not the sensitive one. I could care less if someone calls
you're sensitive to other
or a transphobe.
You are. Having those ideologies makes you insensitive.
How is what you've just said?
I'm an insensitive bitch. I don't care.
Okay, how is what you've just said any different from
fascist Barbie? Fine. What are you talking
the Democrats are responsible for the white theory replacement, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
No, they're not. But how is your position?
So now you want to go to white supremacy? Really? Did Daddy Trump give you a paper of boxes you need to check on?
She doesn't read.
She left. That was fucking.
Sorry, Jovan. Sorry.